Good. So, welcome to this session of Samadhanatmak Bhautikvad English translation reading. You're doing both Hindi and English reading. And the idea of these translations is to make a bridge for the English speaking world and to bring this darshan into the public discourse, uh, right? So once this is becomes available, then it is possible to actually have it presented at the world stage is my opinion, though increasingly the divide of the languages is becoming less and less with coming of AI and so on. But as we see that this darshan cannot be directly translated um, through AI, you will need to actually um, have the human intervention because the words have uh, are defined anew and they need to be um, understood in the context. So many of those things need to be qualified, and we see that is something it is better done directly. And in some senses, I find that my own usefulness for doing that. So, we are at the chapter number 4 for this. We have understood um, we have so far basically got the concept of uh, coexistence of omnipotence and nature. We understood that omnipotence uh, is a reality, and it is all pervasive, and it is transparent, and it is permeable, and it is a non-activity. While the units are uh, countless, uh, uh, they are in the form of orderliness. We talked about 4 planes in existence of these units of nature. So we talked about that there are actually physico-chemical plane in which all the insentient nature is there. Then the sentient nature basically comes about, and the sentient nature first becomes is identified with the insentient, and that is what is the delusion, so, which is called the delusional plane, and in which we have the all the animal order, where basically Jivan or the sentient and sentient unit actually mm, does not do much independent decision making, but actually is living according to the instincts which are of the body. So that is how basically Jivan operates. And the same thing gets extended to human being, where they start living with instincts. But the instincts, living instinctually according to the body's impulses, is not something which is satisfying for human. So there is an inherent drive for them for actually fulfillment. And this fulfillment cannot be uh, attained in the purview of senses or instinct or the body. So they actually extend their faculty of imagination to uh, make sense of the world uh, in which they're living. And in this process, they are able to uh, materialize their ideas and were able to basically change their way of living, the comforts and various other things. But the aspect of mental well-being remains unaddressed, or it has been mysterious, right? Which has not been something that can be uh, understood and make other person understand, right? So something which is the way we understand the nature of uh, say iron or copper or something, we don't understand our um, own selves, right? So that is the reason why these things actually have been mysterious. So, so we are, let's continue reading further. So Devbhai, would you like to um, take over?
जी भैया. Should I read the complete part, or we can do a split Hindi English?
I mean, you need to decide.
Okay, okay. I'll read the first part. I'll read both Hindi and English, then maybe we can split
जी
later.
भैया जी
जी.
या
Okay. प्राणावस्था और पदार्थावस्था में विविधताएं रचना और रासायनिक योग संयोगों के आधार पर है. ऐसी रासायनिक और भौतिक रचना और स्थिति के मूल में परमाणु में विविधता है. परमाणु की विविधता उसमें समाहित अंशों की संख्या पर आधारित है. इन तथ्यों से यह स्पष्ट हुआ कि रचना और रचनाओं की स्थिति के मूल में रासायनिक एवं भौतिक अथवा तात्विक योग है. इससे यह निष्कर्ष निकलता है कि सत्ता में संपृक्त ऊर्जामय प्रकृति अपने मूल रूप में परमाणु की स्थिति में अनेक तत्व संपन्न है. फलस्वरूप अणु और अणुरचित स्वरूपों में अपने आप में वैविध्यता की व्यवस्था है. The diversities in the biological order and the material order are based on on composition and chemical combinations and associations. At the root of these physical and chemical compositions and states lies the diversity in atoms. The diversity in atoms is based on the number of particles contained within them. From these facts, it becomes clear that at the root of compositions and the states of compositions lie chemical and physical combinations, that is, elemental combinations. This leads to the conclusion that the energy endowed nature, saturated in omnipotence, is composed of many elements in its fundamental atomic state. Consequently, there is an inherent orderliness of diversity in molecules and molecular structures.
right. So this is pretty much the physics and chemistry. Yeah.
Right.
So it's basically saying it's agreeing with what we are saying. It says that there are certain element types that are the building blocks of the material nature. So they combine in various ways, like mm, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. They combine to make, say, glucose and various other things, right? So they so these are um, so this is a description of that. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone?
It's fine to me.
Yeah. So he's saying that diversity is because, I mean, there is inherent diversity in the different element types are there and they are combining in various forms, right? So this is the conclusion that is there with the science also. There's nothing new in this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Ganesh Bhaiya, do you want to read? Uh, I think you can read both English and Hindi. Hindi and English.
But yeah, up to 5 to 10 minutes, I will be able to speak.
ठीक है, कोई नहीं. Krishan Bhaiya, are you available to read? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Um, sorry,
Namaste.
you're.
Sorry,
जी भैया.
took a little time in unmute. Yeah, I can read, भैया.
जी भैया. Okay.
प्राण कोशिकाओं से जीव मानव शरीर की रचनाएं हैं. रचनाएं विकास जैसी लगती हैं पर विकास नहीं है, क्योंकि जो जिससे बना रहता है वह उससे अधिक नहीं होता. जीवावस्था और ज्ञानावस्था ये जड़ चैतन्य के संयुक्त प्रकाशन हैं. पदार्थ और प्राणावस्था की रचनाएं जड़ प्रकृति हैं जीवावस्था और ज्ञानावस्था की प्रकृति जड़ चैतन्य का संयुक्त प्रकृति है। जीव और मानव शरीर की रचना भी वंशानुसंगीता पूर्वक संपन्न होती है, इसलिए शरीर जड़ प्रकृति के रूप में स्पष्ट है। The bodies of animals and humans are composed of biological cells. The composition seem like development, but they are not, because a thing is never more than what it is made of. The animal order and the knowledge order are combined expression of the insentient and sentient. The compositions of animal and human bodies occur through species conformants. Therefore, the body is clearly a form of insentient nature. ठीक है। आगे पढ़ना है?
No, no, one question I had. I mean, these compositions, okay. I mean, are we saying that animals and humans are compounds or mixtures here?
Actually, they are compositions. Compositions
Okay.
means rachna. So
Okay.
like a biological composition. Essentially, the main component of the body form is the cell, right? Much as the biology right now understands it, right? The cell is the building block of the bodily form. Uh, uh, and cell in turn is a chemical composition, right? Which
I
is
will I will try to explain my point. So basically, see, there are these four things, right? Root, Gun, Swabhav, and Dharma,
right.
right? Now, elements also have, so units have root, Gun. So basically, these four things, and now humans are now combined form of Jivan and body. So they have root, Gun, Swabhav also, right? I mean, they also have this. Now, okay, so what you're telling is, okay, so it is not a compound, it is not a mixture. I mean, it is
Yeah.
Rachana. Okay, fine, understood. So these Rachanas also have that. Okay, these Rachanas also have, I heard a new point here, composition over here. So far, I know compounds and units, compound and mixtures.
Yeah,
Now,
so the
those,
compound and mixture is something that we found in the physical uh, forms, and the composition is something that we start seeing in the biological forms, where we actually where you have physical compositions also, like for example, the stones, they form big rocks and mountains and so on. We have physical compositions, right? So, so yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
Also, Priya, this line it says the second line. In fact, the compositions seem like development, but they are not. So,
Hmm.
cells to tissues to organs to organ systems. That seems like a development, but it is
Yeah.
not. Just can you maybe comment a little more on it?
Right. So basically, here the development is called something that actually has attained stability and continuity. So, for example, G1 is a developed unit. The development refers to constitutional completeness, while a composition basically is essentially a physical chemical uh, constituent of physical chemical constituents, and it disintegrates into that. So I mean, at the present, we are when people are saying that this AI can actually have consciousness, for example, right? So here we are saying that AI, which is actually a composition, essentially a composition of material composition, like essentially computers, which is a material order entities put into certain combination. It cannot actually have the properties of G1. It cannot have the conscious experience, right? Though it can have so we will actually, it is not something which is more than what it is composed of, right? It doesn't have the conscious experience. Similarly, you can even say that so there is a plane in which they are, right? Physical-chemical plane. That physical-chemical plane is uh, setting the uh, limit in the fundamental way to which it can actually manifest itself, right? So it is uh, so Jivan, mm, what it can do, it cannot be done through a material entity. Jivan in turn basically can use material entities for manifesting its powers, right? So as we are seeing that uh, uh, human Jivan only has created these computers and the logic ability of logic and so on and so forth, right? But it is not something that what it has made, it cannot actually surpass it. Yeah, that is.
So can I say this development is related to the Jagrati Kramme development, right? So there is no development because in that progression of the Jagrati Kram. Vikas Kram is over
Yeah,
because constitutional completeness has been achieved by the atom.
right.
And then in the development of the Jagrati Kram, I mean, just compositions don't help. I think that's the meaning that I'm trying to understand, right,
Yeah,
Rakesh?
right. So
Yes.
basically, the development progression or Vikaskram actually is in the in sentient nature only. And the awakening progression is a phenomena that can only happen in Jivan. Okay.
Mhm.
And Jivan actually uses the body for as an instrument to actually uh, attain awakening. Yeah. So thereby, would that make sense?
जी भैया, जी भैया, thank you. Let's move on. Can you scroll down a bit?
Yeah, just I will bring this to the next page, maybe.
Yeah. Just.
Shall I read the Hindi one? Then
Yes,
maybe
Rakesh,
Raghav
please help.
can.
भैया
Yeah.
I can also read now.
Okay, Ganesh भैया.
जी भैया.
ओके 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 यहाँ से पढ़ लूं भैया चैतन्य इकाई.
हाँ हाँ.
ठीक है. चैतन्य इकाई तात्विक रूप में एक गठन पूर्णता प्राप्त परमाणु है. परमाणु में विकास होने पर रूप परिवर्तन के साथ गुण परिवर्तन होता है. गठन पूर्णता का तात्पर्य परमाणु के गठन में जितने परमाणु अंशों के समाने की अस्तित्व सहज व्यवस्था है उन सभी परमाणु अंशों के समा जाने से है. गठन पूर्णता स्थिति में उस परमाणु में से ना तो कोई परमाणु अंश बढ़ता है और ना ही कोई अंश घटता है. इसी सत्यतावश गठन पूर्ण परमाणु में स्थिरता सहित अक्षय शक्ति और बल संपन्नता है. गठन पूर्ण परमाणु जिसे जीवन कहा गया में मात्रात्मक परिवर्तन के बिना ही गुणों में परिवर्तन होता है. यह भ्रम से जागृति पर्यंत रहता है. The sentient unit in its elemental form is an atom that has attained constitutional completeness. As the atom develops, change in its properties happen along with the change in its form. Constitutional completeness refers to the atom's natural capacity to incorporate all the particles for which it has provision. In this state of completeness, there is neither an increase nor a decrease in the number of particles in the atom. Due to this stability, the constitutionally complete atom possesses inexhaustible power and strength. A constitutionally complete atom undergoes qualitative change without any quantitative change. This persists from delusion till awakening. So in this paragraph, basically, uh, it has been discussed about what is a constitutional complete atom, which has all its octet complete. तो इसके सभी जो अंश हैं जितने भी इसमें समा सकते हैं वो कंप्लीट हो गए, so that
Yeah.
it has attained inexhaustible power and strength. But what has happened is now it is constitutionally complete. Now it will go qualitative uh, qualitative change, not the quantitative change, which means now it will be the start of awakening, जिसको हम जीवन क्रिया बोलते हैं. Yes, भैया.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have described it well. I mean, pretty much what I have also understood.
Next paragraph. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll read that Hindi and Raghava, you can read the English one.
Yes, Rakesh.
जीव और मानव प्रकृति जड़ चैतन्य का संयुक्त साकार रूप होने का कारण ही है कि जीवन के द्वारा शरीर में जीवंतता प्रकाशित है। अस्तित्व स्वयं सहअस्तित्व होने के कारण ही प्रकृति परस्पर पूरकता के रूप में नित्य वर्तमान है। यही विकास का प्रधान क्रिया स्वरूप है। इसी क्रम में जड़ चैतन्य का संयुक्त प्रकाशन भी एक स्वाभाविक स्थिति है। यही नियति क्रम व्यवस्था भी है। प्रकृति में प्रत्येक इकाई सहअस्तित्व रत है, क्योंकि अस्तित्व स्वयं सहअस्तित्व है। इसी सत्यतावश जड़ चैतन्य में सहअस्तित्व जीवन, गठनपूर्ण परमाणु और रचना प्राण कोशिकाओं की रचना में सहअस्तित्व सिद्ध हुआ। सहअस्तित्व नित्य पूरकता के अर्थ में स्पष्ट है। इस प्रकार अस्तित्व ही विकास, विकास ही क्रम, क्रम ही व्यवस्था, व्यवस्था ही स्वयं नियति है।
Okay. Since animals and humans are combined manifestation of insentient and sentient nature, aliveness is made evident in the body through jivan. Because existence is inherently coexistence, nature is eternally present in a state of mutual complementarity. This is also the primary process of development. In this sequence, it is natural that joint expression of insentient and sentient nature also occurs, established in the natural closure of destiny. Every unit in nature is engaged in coexistence because existence itself is coexistence. This truth makes it evident that the coexistence between insentient and sentient nature, between the constitutionally combined atom, Jivan, and the composition of biological cells, the body, came about. Coexistence is clear in the sense of eternal complementarity. Therefore, existence itself is development itself is progression itself is orderliness itself is destiny. Yeah, I mean, I like the last statement. Existence is destiny, basically. It's all there. The destiny is there from the start, is what I'm
Right.
trying to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically saying that all these states of existence are there, right? And so it basically undergoes these states. So in this paragraph, mainly what it is saying is uh, that insentient and sentient both are in coexistence. Both are matter saturated in omnipotence. So therefore, their coexistence is also inevitable. So sentient can communicate with the insentient composition. There is a provision through the process of mutual recognition. So mutual recognition is possible between insentient and sentient also. So there is so this is an important thing. Like I think it has been a philosophical uh, question that if are the sentient and insentient two separate worlds, which uh, and whether they are able to basically uh, communicate with one another, like Raghva, what you were talking about in yesterday in our meeting. Yeah. So here we are saying that coexistence is the ground of uh, both sentient and insentient, which makes the communication between sentient and insentient possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Otherwise, if they are two different entities, saying that, so what is the connection will be there actually? Yeah. If you
Yeah.
just have a dualism kind of a thing,
Right.
right? So it is completely different than the normal dualism, where only two entities are there. How the communication happens is not clear. Yeah.
So the communication or is actually what यहाँ पर जो कहते हैं पहचानना और निर्वाह करना, that
Yeah,
is
correct.
the
Correct.
way of
The
communication.
recognition capability is there. The recognition capability is there, and it can recognize because of saturation, as I understood. Right, Rakesh? Basically, the
Right.
recognition capability is there, and then because of complementarity, they try to fulfill. That is the way
Right.
that they interact.
Right.
So,
So that is the basic principle of coexistence, that complementarity, mutual recognition, and activity. Right. So this is something which is fundamental to by which is available through saturation, and which actually uh, makes the orderliness in the nature possible, right? So, and successive emergence of orderliness in the nature. This is a very important concept to be understood. That first aspect to be understood is the uh, saturation in omnipotence, satta mein sampriktata. That needs to be understood, and what actually becomes available because of that, that also needs to be understood. So it says that the mutual complementarity is essentially established because of saturation, and then uh, this mutual recognition and complementarity is established and activity is established. Yeah. So
I
this
mean,
is the basic engine of coexistence. Because of this, as we were saying, that it is an active universe. It is
yeah.
actually, yeah, it just because of this Shram Gati Parinam actually comes into play, right? So saturation in omnipotence is the basis for this Shram Gati Parinam. And because of that, all the statuses in coexistence basically emerge one after the other, right? And there is complementariness established in them, right? So this is the basic idea of Madhyas Darshan.
Also, if you see, read in between the lines, Rakesh, existence itself is development. So, development requires time, right? We have already been told that there is length, breadth, and volume kind of a thing as a property of units, right? Length, breadth, and you define it as Ghan, but I'm thinking volume may be better, but maybe we can discuss. Length, breadth, and volume are there, and there is energy which is equivalent to mass, right? Because it is energized. So atoms have length, breadth, energy, and mass now, and existence itself is development. Because there is development is defined in existence, there is a order of time is there. Now I have length, breadth, width, volume, mass, and time. That's how I was thinking about, and then physics can happen now. That's how I was
Okay.
thinking. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's
Okay.
how I was trying to understand it. I mean, yeah, just a good way.
Yeah, I think somewhere physics needs to find its place.
Mm.
Okay. I think Mohanji, somebody needs to read in Hindi for
I'll
him.
sure I'll do that. Moon Bhaiya, are you
Sure.
there? Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
split. Indian English. Okay.
Yeah.
अधिक शक्ति और बल कम शक्ति और बल के माध्यम से प्रकाशित अधिक शक्ति और बल कम शक्ति और बल के माध्यम से प्रकाशित होता है, क्योंकि बल और शक्ति की अधिकता क्षयशील और अक्षयशीलता
Issues. Yeah.
जी अक्षयशीलता के अर्थ में सार्थक हो। भैया your screen is flipping.
Oh, is it? Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
जी
So FIFA World Cup is taking its own.
अक्षयशीलता के अर्थ क्योंकि बल और शक्ति की अधिकता क्षयशील और अक्षयशीलता के अर्थ में सार्थक होती है। अक्षय बल और शक्ति प्रत्येक चैतन्य इकाई में समान रूप से विद्यमान है, जबकि जड़ प्रकृति के प्रत्येक इकाई में शक्ति की क्षरणशीलता परिवर्तनशीलता स्पष्ट है। इसी सत्यतावश यह सिद्ध हो जाता है कि जड़ प्रकृति की स्थूलता उसकी शक्तियों की क्षरणशीलतावश अनिवार्य स्थिति है, अर्थात संगठनात्मक बंधन स्वाभाविक है, जबकि चैतन्य इकाई तात्विक रूप में एक ही परमाणु है। वह गठनपूर्ण परमाणु होने के कारण उसकी सूक्ष्मता अपने आप व्याख्यायित है। इस प्रकार जीवन की सूक्ष्मता और अक्षय महिमा स्पष्ट होने के कारण यह तथ्य असंदिग्ध रूप में सिद्ध हो जाता है कि प्राण कोशिकाओं से रचित शरीर चैतन्य प्रकृति की तुलना में कम शक्ति एवं कम बल संपन्न है। साथ ही शरीर स्थूल रूप में है तथा जीवन सूक्ष्म रूप है। इसलिए कम शक्ति कम बल के माध्यम से अधिक शक्ति व अधिक बल प्रकाशित होना सार्वभौम सिद्ध हुआ। मोहन भैया।
Greater power and strength manifest through lesser power and strength, because greater power and strength means inexhaustibility, while lesser power and strength means exhaustibility. Inexhaustible strength and power are equally present in every sentient unit. On the other hand, every unit of insentient nature clearly exhibits the transformability of its powers. Consequently, the grossness of insentient nature is inevitable owing to the transformability of its powers. That is, structural binding is natural to it. In contrast, the sentient unit is, in essence, a single atom, and its certainless is self-evident because it is constitutionally complete atom. Thus, with the certainless of Jivan and the magnificence of its inexhaustibility becoming clear, it is established beyond doubt that the body, composed of biological cells, possesses lesser strength and lesser power than sentient nature. Moreover, the body is a gross form, whereas Jivan is a subtle form. Therefore, the manifestation of greater power and strength through lesser power and strength, the strength is established as universal. As I see, the core concept presented here is supremacy of the sentient power, which is Jivan, over material form, which is body, based on the principle of exhaustibility and certainless. It's a long paragraph. Bhaiya can explain it.
Yeah, I think basically
Yeah,
that is the essential point here, that
correct.
basic
Yeah,
Jivan is subtle and body is
yeah,
gross, and
right.
body is exhaustible, while Jivan's powers do not exhaust. So, so the subtle manifests through gross. That is how basically Jivan and body uh, they actually that they work together. That the Jivan's powers manifest through body. Jivan does not actually have anything coming inside it, right? Like, for example, when we taste something sweet, it's not something sweet enters the body and enters the Jivan, right? But it only basically gets the signal that something has happened in the body, right? But it is able to actually perform the sensory recognition, right? So see that something actually happens through the brain in the body, and the Jivan is the witness to that, right? And that, so those activities that we have actually um, seen about in Jivan, like Tulan Vishleshan, Chayan Aswadan, uh, Chintan Chitran, Sankalp Bodh, and Anubhav Praman. Those are subtle powers. These subtle powers manifest through the gross body. And the brain is the medium through which Jivan expresses self. Jivan transmits its signal, receives its signal. So the brain is a very uh, you can say is the central uh, place from which Jivan communicates itself.
So, I mean, is this paragraph saying that a Jivan can recognize the relationships only through the body, or is that being said over here?
Yeah,
Okay. So, if there are no bodies, Jivan cannot recognize another Jivan. Is that correct?
that I do not know. Basically, Jivan has the relationship with other Jivan, but it expresses itself through the body. So a human is where the relationships actually have any meaning. Like, for example, the trust manifest in the humans, not between Jivans.
Understood. So, okay, so the relationships are with Jivan and body together,
Right.
because that is the unit, and Jivans themselves between them, I don't, they may be able to recognize the other things because they want to associate to complete themselves towards Jagrati Kram. They want to associate with the body. That's the only thing they may recognize, I guess, from what the picture that I'm getting, Rakesh. Right?
So what Babaji used to say is that Jivan makes the progress in Jagriti Kram or the awakening progression only uh, while it is controlling a human body. Okay. So otherwise its status remains the same. It its awakening it does it has the need for the body for making progress.
Understood.
Yeah.
Here, then there is a question.
जी
If
भैया.
if self remains in the same situation, whatever we are doing after death, whatever the rituals we are doing after death, that has no significance.
बहुत controversial question है.
What we, what we are doing after death. Okay, I don't have much remembrance of that, but but we basically what he was saying is the status of the Jivan's awakening uh, does not change. Okay, if it is in at a certain level, it remains the same. Only with the body. That's a need of the body also. So what are the things that it is performing? what are the things that a Jivan can perform uh, without actually body? I do not know. I mean,
Yes,
At least first
yeah,
there
basically,
is
it says that if it is an awakened Jivan, it can inspire other Jivans, okay, for awakening. That is very much there. And if it is an unawakened Jivan, it can also inspire in a negative way, right? That also is there. Yeah. But your question is that do they have any consequence on the Jivan? I didn't think about it, Krishan Bhaiya.
yes. In Hindus, we have uh, we are burning the body. Uh,
Yeah.
the thought behind that is Jivan can realize that now he is disassociated with the body. For that,
Hmm.
they are doing that ritual. And
Hmm.
these practices are coming from tradition where a lot of work has been done with this sadhana and everything.
Hmm.
And some realized persons uh, have told about all these things. So there's maybe some fact, but yeah, this is not our experience that we can say, and we will go through that process. Only then we can realize all these things.
Right. Yeah, I think basically death has been something that humans have faced ever since they came about, right? And it must have been a source of lot of wonder and fear for them in the beginning.
Yeah.
And something that you wonder and fear, you associate with certain rituals with it. So the rituals of death, what you do with after death, mm, is something which is very ancient, right? People have been doing this thing for thousands and thousands of years, right? And they have continued. Coming of religions, they have been given more significance, along with the stories that basically were built about explanation for afterlife. So pretty much all the idealistic religions said that with death, not everything basically gets over. I mean, there is something that remains. And even so, they also gave the ideas of reincarnation and so on and so forth. But were they able to explain Jivan? Were they able to explain, make that studyable? Pretty much these things remained as a mystery, right? And so, so when we used to ask Babaji uh, about this, what happens after death, what happens just at the moment of death, what happens in between two lifetimes. So he used to say that this darshan is actually meant for what happens from the point of when you start first breath of life till the last breath of life, that is between birth and death is where the human behavior is. मानव के जन्म से मृत्यु तक उसके बीच में मानव का व्यवहार है, right? What happens after death, right? You actually understand first, you will be able to understand that only after you understand what is to be done during lifetime. मानव के व्यवहार जीते समय क्या करना है, जब ये हमको स्पष्ट हो जाता है, तभी हमको मरने के बाद क्या होता है ये स्पष्ट होता है. So we become clear about what happens after death only after we are established in what to do in when we are living. He also used to say that living is reality, death is not reality. Death is an incident. He said death is a event. जन्म और मृत्यु घटना है ना. They are not reality. So death, reality is that which has continuity. So Jivan actually has continuity, and death and birth are events for that. So that was another thing that he used to say. So when we actually make our reference of seeing as Jivan, then we basically find out that uh, there is a continuity uh, in the across the births. So when across the different births and deaths. So from that reference, if we try to see maybe some logic, we can actually derive what happens between the two lifetimes.
Yes, भैया.
Okay, next paragraph.
So who has I think we will do another cycle.
जी भैया.
Yeah.
Vandana Didi, you joined. Would you like to read?
Just give me 5 minutes. I just joined late.
जी.
I'll be the next one to read.
Okay, all right. Then I'll go. नियंत्रण स्वयं नियम के रूप में स्पष्ट होता है. फलतः प्रत्येक इकाई में नियम पूर्वक ही एक दूसरे को पहचानने की व्यवस्था है. यही नियंत्रण का तात्पर्य है. एक दूसरे को पहचानने के लिए प्रत्येक इकाई का अपने में संपूर्णता का होना है. परस्पर पहचानने का मूल तत्व और नियंत्रण का रूप अपने आप में सत्ता में संपृक्तता है. संपृक्तता और ऊर्जामयता ही है. सत्ता में डूबे रहने के फलस्वरूप ही इकाई के सभी और शून्य का होना देखा जाता है. यही भीगा रहना स्वयं बल संपन्नता है. यह अपने आप में इस बात से स्पष्ट होता है कि सत्ता पारगामी होने के कारण ही भीगा हुआ है. इस प्रक्रिया से स्पष्ट हो जाता है कि हम इकाई के कितने भी विभाजन करें, उसका प्रत्येक विभाग यथावत डूबा हुआ, घिरा हुआ एवं भीगा हुआ दिखाई देता है. इसके साथ ही यह भी स्पष्ट होता है कि इकाई का नाश नहीं होता तथा इसका साक्ष्य मिलता है कि छोटी से छोटी एवं बड़ी से बड़ी इकाइयां सतत क्रियाशील हैं. क्रियाशीलता स्वयं बल का द्योतक है तथा क्रिया स्वयं नियंत्रित रहने का द्योतक है. इस प्रकार इकाई का सत्ता में घिरे रहने के कारण, नियंत्रण डूबे रहने के कारण क्रियाशीलता एवं भीगे रहने के कारण बल संपन्नता को देखा जाता है. Regulation itself becomes clear in the form of law. Consequently, there is a provision in every unit for recognizing one another based on law. This itself is the meaning of regulation. For mutual recognition, each unit has wholeness within itself. The essence of mutual recognition and regulation of units is their saturation and energization in omnipotence only. This submersion in omnipotence is why every unit has space all around it. Being soaked itself is force endowment. It becomes clear that units are soaked because omnipotence is permeating. No matter how many times we divide a unit, each fragment remains submerged, surrounded, and soaked. It also becomes clear that a unit cannot be annihilated, and it is evident that all units from the smallest to the largest are ceaselessly active. Activeness is indicative of having strength, and activity is indicative of regulation. Therefore, a unit is seen to have regulation due to being surrounded by omnipotence, activeness due to its submersion in omnipotence, and its force endowment is due to being soaked in omnipotence. So I think it's pretty much saying the Duba Biga Gira concept in multiple
Right.
different ways. One thing which leaves me a little confused is this line where it says about strength, bal ka द्योतक hai. So if we just just see the sequence, it says छोटी से छोटी एवं बड़ी से बड़ी इकाइयां सतत क्रियाशील हैं, एंड देन
Hmm.
क्रियाशीलता स्वयं बल का द्योतक है. So it is talking about a continuity, right? Which is like it's there is a continuity, and nothing other than that. But then if you go back to the previous paragraph,
Hmm.
or probably the last to last paragraph, where it was talking about uh, जिसमें था ना, जीवन sentient has power. What was it about?
Inexhaustible power, say.
Inexhaustible power and exhaustible power. So their insentient had exhaustible power, that paragraph mentioned,
Yeah,
wherein
okay, I understood what you're asking. Yeah, okay. So basically, we want to understand what does inexhaustibility and exhaustibility means, right? So what happens is that in this in the insentient nature, there is exhaustibility in the sense of its composition becoming different, how it is bonding with other units becoming different with time. While a sentient unit actually is a lone unit. So, so both are endowed with the saturation and have the force to perform activity, right? But in the insentient nature, it is actually its activity is in conjunction with other activities. So that composition actually changes along with time. So if we actually so there is exhaustibility in that by nature. So because of this is manifested in the form of integration, disintegration, sangatan, vigatan in the material order, and composition, decomposition in the uh, biological order, and in the form of getting tired in humans and in animals, right? So because the material nature is such that there is actually change in hormones and change in uh, energy levels, so to say. So it requires replenishment. uh, so that is the way I am actually seeing it. While the force endowment continues, so the atom does not tire off from actually for its activity. Like for example, the carbon atom does not slow down its activity ever, right? Because it is force endowed. But the way it is composed with other atoms, that combination actually changes with time, which actually is the reason for exhaustibility.
I think that is my understanding also, Rakesh. See, the way that I also understood that statement was, see, suppose there is an electron that is moving around proton, right? It will never
Mhm.
stop because
Yeah.
all its resources are self-contained within that particular system.
Mhm.
But as the particular thing goes to higher and higher levels, right,
Mhm.
as collections grow, in order to sustain that collection, we need the close, even though it knows what to do, it can recognize the capability, but it can act only locally, right? It can
Mhm.
only act with the, in order to grow its collection, suppose it wants that's the idea, right? It needs to have a resource to go and collect and satisfy that need to make a bigger creature or a bigger collection. So then the resource is constrained by the locality of the item that is there. So it may try to move towards it or try to somehow grow, but it
Mhm.
is constrained by the resource that is available to it at that particular
Mhm.
point of time. And some things, if it comes into contact, it can disintegrate also, right? So
Right.
basically, as you're trying to tell, so there is this so strength and power, somehow this exhaust. So inherently there is force, there is this activity. That's how I'm trying to understand, and there is this. Okay, and the force endowment is there, and there is regulation because it knows the direction in which it needs to act. and it may happen that it can come into something that is disintegrating, and in order to build itself again, that resource is not there. Right, so this is the entire picture that I'm seeing, this active universe, right? I mean, that's how it's capturing my imagination. It cannot happen even though the individual units are inexhaustive. I mean, and force induced. As the collection grows, there is this dynamic balance that is required. That's happening,
Right.
right? So basically, and because of that, there is this limits are there, because of the locality of the things and how this whole setup has started.
Right. It is the basically the nature of the insentient nature. Insentient nature has a certain limits in which it operates. Sentient nature has certain limits in which it operates. So,
Yes, the limits are basically the distance and the locality of the resources that it requires. That's because the distance is the limit, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's why we're trying to understand what is the limit, right? Because I have inexhaustible energy, right? But still, I am limited. In what sense am I limited, right? From the properties that I'm told so far, only these are the things that I can recognize, right? I can recognize things, but I can act locally only, right?
that
So
is
therefore,
true.
those are my limits. So the boundary is my limit, or the locality is my limit for the insentient atoms.
That is true. Basically, the sentient atom, on the other hand, basically can know all existence. Okay. It can know all existence, but because of the limits of insentience, it can actually manifest its power only through the only in the localities, right? So basically, once Babaji actually used that, said that line, मानव जो है वो असीम और अनंत को सीमित के माध्यम से व्यक्त करने योग्य इकाई है.
Makes a lot of
So,
sense.
so we basically have the capability of knowing the infinite and limitless. And with that knowledge, we can actually manifest that knowledge through the limits. The body is actually limited. It has a lifespan, right? And basically, it has the limitations of limitations in terms of physical limitations. But this, despite these physical limitations, the humane conduct actually is something that can, in one sense, capture the whole idea of infinite knowledge. He says that humane conduct is something that can represent the entire knowledge of existence. So he says that the whole of this whole of entire knowledge of existence can actually come into activity, can into get manifested in the form of action through by in the form of manvyata purna acharan or humane conduct, right? So he says that knowledge, the purpose of knowledge is for human living, nothing more than that. So he says the knowledge actually is, the need for knowledge is in the human being, and the use of knowledge is for humane conduct. So the use of knowledge is to perform the conduct in a humane way, right? Apart from that, there is no utility of knowledge. There is no entity that in existence that has the need for knowledge. So the need for knowledge is in human being, and the ultimate of manifestation of new knowledge is in the form of humane conduct, right? So that actually is how he basically closes the loop. Yeah. Krishnan Bhaiya?
Here, can we say one thing? When the things integrates, its power and strength increases. When it disintegrates, power and strength decreases.
कह सकते हैं मेरे ख्याल से. I think we can say that. So,
And that is
but
the whole idea of Sarjan and Pralay.
Yeah, you see, but still within its limits only. Like for example, when you uh, it will stay in the limits of physical chemical domain only. It will never attain the powers of sentience.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yes.
so within the in thing, it is possible that something makes more physical and chemical bonds. So it's possible that it is actually able to have more strength. Yeah, but on decay, it also becomes the same. Uh, it attains the same constituents that it is made of, right? So there is no permanent progress in there. There is no permanent development in there,
Yeah.
right? And also basically, as we say that जड़ प्रकृति का साध्य जो है वो चैतन्य प्रकृति है, which means that the purpose why that these it is actually making all these compositions is so that it can be of use for the sentient nature. So it is essentially meant for being an instrument for the sentient nature.
Yeah. Yeah, that builds the purpose, right? The whole progression, that's how it is defined. Bodies are made, minds develop for sentient to associate and to help the sentient to progress in its realization. And for
Right.
the sentient to develop in its realization, it needs to form families and so on and so forth, such that it can realize. So yeah, I mean, I getting the picture, Rakesh.
Yeah. So basically, the material nature is not inferior in the sense, yeah, but is actually works in conjunction with the sentient nature.
Yeah, obviously, because without body, sentient cannot realize only. So it's not
Yeah.
demoted,
Yeah.
but it is an equal partner kind of a thing, right? Because
Right.
without body, it cannot establish a relationship, and relationships are required, and the values have to be fulfilled for it to go from happiness to bliss, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
understood.
So this is how we basically need to understand that everything, what Babaji used to use a term of mechanical engineering, is that in existence everything is shrink fit, right? Which means that everything ties with one another. There is nothing which is actually is in excess or unnecessary or superfluous. So there is actually everything has a purpose and fits with one another, right? In the
Complementary,
absolute,
yes. Yeah, the
in the
so the picture is
complementary.
yeah, correct. It is
Yeah.
complementary and mutual. Yeah. Understood. And it is our ability to understand this mutuality and recognize it. Capacity is
Yeah.
there, but we have to, yeah, understood.
Vanna Didi, are you now in a position to read?
जी भैया, नमस्ते सभी को
Namaste.
नमस्ते।
Namaste.
प्रत्येक इकाई में नियंत्रण बल व क्रियाशीलता अविभाज्य रूप में वर्तमान है तथा अपनी स्वाभाविक गति में समान होते हैं। इस तथ्य से यह स्पष्ट होता है कि प्रत्येक इकाई अपने संपूर्णता में ध्रुवित होती है। ध्रुवता से तात्पर्य आचरण की स्थिरता से है। संपूर्णता का तात्पर्य नियंत्रण, क्रियाशीलता और बल संपन्नता से है। नियंत्रण, क्रियाशीलता और बल संपन्नता प्रत्येक इकाई का नैतिक वैभव है। इसलिए नित्य वैभव है। इसका पराभव कभी नहीं होता। अस्तित्व सत्ता में संपृक्त प्रकृति होने के कारण सत्ता में से वस्तु का वियोग नहीं होता। इस कारण इकाई का वैभव नित्य, शाश्वत और स्थिर सिद्ध होता है। स्थिरता का तात्पर्य अस्तित्व में नित्यता और क्रिया की निरंतरता से है। Every unit has an inseparable presence of regulation, strength, and activeness, which is uniform in their natural state. This indicates that every unit is anchored in its wholeness. Anchoredness means the stability to conduct, Wholeness means regulations, activeness, and force endowment. Regulation, activities, and force endowments are the internal grandeur of every unit, which never diminishes. Since existence is nature saturated in omnipotence, no unit is ever separated from omnipotence. Therefore, the grandeur of a unit proves to be internally perennial and stable. Stability signifies the eternity of existence and the continuity of activity. जी भैया.
So one concept that we see is that wholeness and completeness. Wholeness or sampurnata, right? Which means that how units work with one another. That is wholeness. And completeness is something that is actually happens in the sentient unit. So completeness manifests itself through wholeness. So if you see that nature is all the insentient nature is actually operating as wholeness. It is actually working in conjunction with one another. While sentient nature is actually operating it alone, but manifesting itself through wholeness. That is one concept that we need to actually understand.
I think understood.
So basically, we the whole idea is regulation, activeness, and force endowment is the eternal grandeur of every unit, which never diminishes. So this is something which uh, it, this it's a dynamic continuity that we are actually having. Nature is not static; it actually is in continuous activity, right? Is what basically is coming about. And there are definite stages uh, in nature's emergence, and each performing a different level of stability of conduct. Okay. Giving rise to orderliness at every level, and each level of orderliness fitting into the next level of orderliness.
Understood.
Yeah. So what we need to do is to actually first hold the concept uh, of saturation and this force endowment, बल संपन्नता, क्रियाशीलता, सहअस्तित्व की सामरस्यता, है ना, harmony of coexistence. First, we need to hold that, and then we need to visualize in our mind how these things are functioning together. Okay, is at the level of concept we need to first understand that how these things are working together, and then we need to map it with our day-to-day life also, because finally we are also part of that that entire gamut of coexistence. So somewhere we will need to see how we actually come into play for this. And once we start doing that, then we realize that the way that its coexistence actually relates with us is by the conduct, through our relationships, through our behavior, right? So then if we start actually aligning our life according to humane conduct, then we start seeing the reality, right? What we call as direct cognition, ya sakshatkar. Then we are able to start seeing the reality as it is. That is the process of Adhyan. So process of Adhyan is to first receive the information that, okay, this is the way existence is. Then to make a mental construct of it. That is to actually make a and do deliberate over it. Okay. To make the connections in our mind, to make a mental logical coherence of the whole thing. That while considering, making a certain assumption, ये मानकर ही करना होता है. By making certain assumption that this is the way existence is, consider that it is so. By logically, once we become satisfied, then the next step comes is that if it is so, then I must also be part of this thing, right? Then Jivan must be me, and and Jivan and body together must be me as a human being, and the family is what the people that I am living with. Then we start actually mapping this understanding to our reality. Once we start doing that, then comes basically the aspect of abhyas or practice, that how do we actually map this understanding to our present day reality. That is a uh, that is how coexistence gets linked with our life, right? There is no other way. There is no other way. So once we actually start bringing it into our practice, then we start seeing the reality. Okay. And once we start seeing the reality, it becomes our own, right? That is all there is to it. Okay. That is all there is to it.
Yeah, very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't require any sadhana or any meditation practice or anything of that nature, right? So it is about basically listening, uh, ratioinating, basically understanding uh, logical comprehension of it, just like you would understand any concept of physics or maths or something, you would understand the order of the existence also in the same way. Once it becomes logically clear, we arrive at a conclusion that, okay, this makes sense. I must also live like that. Okay. Then once you actually make that conclusion about, yes, I want to live like that, I want to be part of this coexistential harmony, right? And want to realize my own role in this whole thing, then actually things uh, start becoming your own, that you start seeing those reality directly, right? It doesn't become a second hand thing. So things start becoming first hand. It basically leads to activation of certain latent faculties in Jivan, which were so far dormant. Hmm. And that actually leads to a fulfillment of consciousness. That actually, because the why the faculties of thinking, uh, etc., faculty of imagination was there. This faculty of imagination was there because so that this can become activated, so that our imagination also becomes fulfilled. So we'll find that this is what my imagination, this is why I had the logic, this is why I had the faculty of logic, this is why, this is the reason why actually I was living, right? This was the purpose of my living. So somewhere it all comes together, that okay, it basically somehow starts making sense that this is my purpose of life. Yeah, basically all the things that were there is sort of start converging, that it starts synthesizing, and even our past actions also start getting into perspective, that we basically start seeing that uh, we become resolved about our past actions, or are able to see them in perspective, right? So in this sense we basically become resolved about uh, our errors of the past, and we become clear about the present, and have some sort of a plan for the future, right? So the presence of existence is not a uh, fleeting moment. Presence of existence is in the eternal sense for the past, present, and future. It needs to actually come to comprehension and acceptance of entirety of time, that you basically and being part of that, because Jivan is immortal. When it is resolved, it needs to actually have its past in perspective, and future also needs to be assured of. It needs to see her whole existence as the continuity of presence. So the understanding of coexistence gives you that uh, leverage to actually see the reality as a continuity. That is the thing that we want to basically see that. So this continuity is not uh, just of the absolute Vyapak. This continuity is of the activity also. So you basically realize not just in the uh, eternity of omnipotence, you realize uh, in the
Activity also.
perenniality
Yeah, yeah.
and the activity also, because coexistence is the fundamental of that. There is no omnipotence is not the primary reality which from which the activity has been created. Activity and omnipotence are both fundamental activities. Both fundamental. So when the realization happens in their coexistence. Because finally, the realizing entity is an activity only. Okay. So always the realization will happen in the coexistence only. So it is basically that is the entire concept we are trying to build, our set our mind into. Yeah.
Nice. Can you read one more paragraph or?
Yeah, I think we can read one more paragraph.
Bhaiya, I have one question.
जी भैया.
Here we are saying this Urja Sampannata, Kriyashilta, and Bal Sampannata.
हाँ.
Is it in the sequence like Urja Sampannata, then Kriyashilta, then Bal Sampannata? Or Urja Sampannata and Bal Sampannata are the same things?
Actually, there is no sequence. Sequence means time duration. सो ऊर्जा संपन्नता है, उससे बल संपन्नता है, बल संपन्नता है, उससे क्रियाशीलता है. So it's not that there is no time associated with that.
Okay, they all are together. Like
They are all together, right?
yes.
Actually, I was trying to distinguish between this activeness and force endowment. Rakesh, see if I'm on the right path. Activeness is the overall tendency of effort, motion, resolution. So that's the basic activeness that I got. But
Hmm.
this force is called bal, right? Force is bal. So in the insentient thing, this force can, like, how do I express my gati in an insentient thing because of the various forces that are there, right? Like kinetic energy, like magnetic, electric, so on and so on kinds of forces, right? So that is, I can express this activeness in insentient things because of this bulk or forces which are regulated, and I'm active through these kinds of forces. But in the sentient things, these forces are my desires, right? So basically, and I'm still active and I'm regulated, so I do my gati using these forces because I'm active. Basically, activity is the basic energy that I have, and regulation. Does that map?
Yes, somewhat. Yeah. In this
Yeah.
chapter, or perhaps in the next, we will see the mapping between the insentient forces and the sentient forces. Because finally it is the nature which is manifested but both in sentient form and the sentient form, right? So essentially force is the potential, and uh, uh, and gati is how it is manifested in the conduct, right? So in the insentient nature it actually does in a certain way. In sentient nature it does in a certain way. In sentient nature it is in the activities are in the form of this gati is in the form of uh, desire, hope, right? And, and also thought, right? While sthiti or the bal is in the form of aswadan, taste, right? The deliberation, tulan. That is where, that is how it is.
Understood. Understood.
So, Bhaiya, can we say this bulb is the expression of energy because we are taking like it's a samya urja due to
Hmm.
व्यापक एंड व्यापक ऊर्जा में संपृक्त होने से इकाई में ऊर्जा संपन्नता है और ये ऊर्जा संपन्नता ही इकाई में बल संपन्नता के रूप में स्थिति में है जिसका फिर हम गति में देख रहे हैं उसको वापस गति के रूप में
बिल्कुल।
एक्सप्रेशन।
ऊर्जा संपन्नता से ही बल संपन्नता है, बल संपन्नता से ही क्रियाशीलता है। तो मूलतः बल संपन्नता के मूल में ऊर्जा संपन्नता ही है।
यस,
बट ये मतलब उसमें कोई
टाइम गैप
टाइम
नहीं।
गैप नहीं है ना?
यस,
सो
यस,
इट्स नॉट दैट सम दैट सत्ता इज एक्चुअली में kind of a controller for some activity to happen, or there is a flow of some energy happening from one point to the other point so that the unit will perform its activity.
यस, यस,
इकाई को सत्ता प्राप्त है, उससे सत्ता में इकाई में बल है, बल से इकाई क्रियाशील है। That is how basically we are seeing this thing, right?
Understood.
So in the in so if we look at it, the ikai will be seen in the form of performing an activity. Now we are actually explaining how this activity is actually happening. If it is performing an activity, it has to be endowed with force. Where is this force coming from? Where is this? How is this force? It is because it is saturated in omnipotence. So that is basically understanding of the causality of it,
यस भैया,
right?
यस। और ये जो टाइम गैप है भैया इसको तो हम इससे भी समझ सकते हैं कि जहाँ इकाई है where there is
हाँ,
unit there is this omnipotent the व्यापक is there, there is also no gap of distance is also not there, at the same place both are there।
बिल्कुल। तो ये वाला एक बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट है जिसमें which which basically liberates us from the earlier thought that the God or some omnipotent power is actually controlling the units. So we are actually not seeing this the सत्ता को एज अ कंट्रोलर के रूप में ना देखते हुए नियम के रूप में हम देख रहे हैं। इट इज एज सीइंग एज वी आर सीइंग दिस एज द ग्राउंड ऑफ बीइंग रादर देन कंट्रोलर ऑफ बीइंग्स।
यस भैया, यस।
तो आज तो बेसिकली टाइम हो गया है, सो वी कैन मे बी स्टॉप हियर टुडे एंड resume from this point in our next meeting. Anybody wants to add anything before we close?
I just want to share a quick thing. Actually, last week I spent a lot of time in trying to figure out how the core Indian philosophy that has existed for probably 1,000+ years
Hmm.
um, is different from what we are reading, Madhya Darshan. And I found it
Hmm.
very, very interesting actually. So I tried looking into something called Advaita Vedanta. So Christian Bhai was talking about some rituals. So I was going to say that if we just look into the core philosophy that has existed for quite some time, these really don't hold any significance. You know, the kind of rituals and the lot of visible things that we that we do, and but then there are certain things which probably were kind of confusing, and that's where I find a lot of answers in Madhyas Darshan. Actually, that has been very inclusive, flexible and inclusive. You know, you can treat the world as mithya, you can worship gods. I mean, you could do whatever, and then and the problem that happens is that, you know, many times people just get stuck at a certain stage to that I find solace in picking a personal deity, and then I keep start worshipping, and then that's where I want to be. So, and about Madhyas Darshan, I think I don't I think it's a little on the path. You know, I there is no deviation that this is how it is. Um, and that's a fantastic thing. There is, it doesn't give you an opportunity to just drift from what the reality is actually. Um, so yeah, it was fascinating actually. So that's I wanted to share, and also I was watching a video recently uploaded, Sri Ram Bhaiya talking to Babaji, and the way he starts from one point to where he leads that to, it's such mesmerizing. I don't know, he never worked for corporate, but that's how he talked, you know. uh, yeah, it's like stepwise, the way he explains from the minutest things to the biggest aspect, pretty much like some technology person talking about a high tech invention.
It would be good if you shared that thing. Maybe we'll actually relate with that better. Yeah,
Yes, that will be
later
great.
on. Mhm.
Sure, we are sure I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So thank you very much, all of you, and thank you, Bhaiya Dev, for sharing this. Yeah. Mm. So
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
bye.
Namaste.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
everyone. Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.